If only I had spidey senses, so I can tell when something's wrong. Oh, and I'm set to protect this heart from breaking into pieces. Where's my hammer? Where's the shield? Oh, the strength to carry the weight of the world. Fly high into the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. I'll catch you if you fall. Fly high into the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. I'll catch you if you fall.
Now, here's your host, DJ Host with the Most.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Snap Decisions. I am your Snap DJ, your host with the most, and I am coming to you from a Tuesday after the holiday. I hope you all had a safe and happy 4th of July. If you do indeed celebrate the holiday. I know I have a lot of listeners overseas who may not celebrate the holiday, but if you did, I hope you enjoyed it. It is literally my least favorite holiday, I think, of the year. And I have several reasons for it. One, I used to go, I'll start back when I was a kid, right? So I think the 4th of July is a bigger holiday for kids than I think it is for adults. And I can totally understand that with the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people go picnicking and they go to amusement parks and things like that on the holiday, which we used to do that. So obviously when I was a kid, you're enamored by the fireworks. Depending on the age, right? Like young kids can get upset by it. I mean, kids that are not old enough to understand what's going on and stuff like that can be upset by the loud noises, and stuff. But, we used to go to parks and stuff. We used to enjoy the displays, and sometimes the parks would have the fireworks at the end of the day. However, as I got a little bit older, it kind of waned for me, the family and stuff that was around, and we used to go to the amusement parks was one that was not around anymore. My grandparents had passed away. And so, my aunt and uncle would still have celebrations down at their place. But as I grew older, I'd work a lot, right? So I didn't have a lot of holidays off, and for the most part, the 4th of July was one that I'd end up working on. When my wife and I were living in the house and stuff like that we're in now, we really didn't do, anything on our own. And look, let's face it, fireworks are expensive. Years ago when we used to get them, I can remember my dad would get them illegally at that time because you couldn't legally buy them. Now you can literally buy them anywhere, which I think is part of when I get to part 2 of this discussion, I'll talk more about that. But, you just couldn't get them back then. My dad would get them from tractor trailer drivers who came from the South, that would bring stuff to his place of work. And then he would kind of hit them up to buy him some big fireworks. And that's why my dad would do like a display of them. We would go up to like the baseball field when I was like 6, 7 years old, maybe the baseball field that was in our little town. And he would kind of shoot them off like behind the baseball field, like in an area that was kind of down that way. But we lived in a town that had like one policeman, and he was not even a real, like he was just a town policeman back then. And he was so old that I'm sure he was probably asleep well before the fireworks would be set off. So there was really next to no chance that my dad would get in trouble for having illegal fireworks or shooting them off and stuff like that. But again, as I got older, the that kind of went away. And I used to go to a display that was in a park where my wife's parents would go, and they would enjoy it. They would have like music, like the orchestra would play classical music, and then the fireworks display in the park would start about 10 o'clock. Now that was a professionally done one. Of course, they had fire trucks and everything there just in case something went awry. But, that was a professionally done display that they would shoot over, like way out in the distance from where the crowd was and things like that. So, so that was quite different. And again, it was okay. I mean, you'd go, there'd be like food there. You can get food from food vendors and stuff like that. But the last time I can remember attending that, we were walking through, my wife and I were walking through the crowd, and we were going to go get something to eat. And I kind of see this guy walking with a dog on a leash. Now, for me, I would never take a pet to a big fireworks display like that. And never in a million years. That is one of the stupidest thing I could think to ever do. First of all, the animal's going to be nervous with the loud noises and things like that, which is horrible to have a pet there. Secondly, he was standing with, I think he had a little girl with him, if I can remember this right. And he was out in the area where the most people were standing, just kind of yapping to one of his friends or something there, while he had the dog on a leash. Now, the dog was pulling him, because obviously the dog wanted away from that spot, right? Didn't want to be around, probably didn't want to be there to begin with at all. And so I see this, and at this point in time, we had my daughter with us, who was young at the time. So I'm walking and I see this dog struggling on his leash. Now, and the dog was a big dog. It looked like he was he could have been like a pit bull type of dog. I'm not sure. So I kind of grabbed my daughter and I made her walk on the other side of me, because I could see this dog struggling on the leash. The guy not paying attention to him, just kind of holding him like ever so slightly with the leash, but not watching him at all. He's busy talking to other people and stuff like that. So I moved my daughter over to the other side of me, and as I'm doing so, I had my other hand. Of course, my left hand was kind of outstretched a little bit on the other side. Next thing I know, the dog literally bites my hand, like literally latches onto my hand and bites my hand. Meantime, the dude with the dog still has not noticed, has not even noticed yet. And in the meantime, my wife is going over and she's like, your dog just bit my husband, what's going on? What are you doing with it? So the guy's like, finally pays attention. I'm so sorry. So my wife gets the guy's ID and all this kind of stuff. She's like, well, we have to take so they end up taking me they had an ambulance there. And so we find the ambulance there that was outside of where the stadium was. And I go there and they patch me up. And then, of course, they're like, well, have you had a tetanus shot lately? And I'm like, I don't think so. It's been a long time. So they take me to the hospital, the local hospital, and I end up getting a tetanus shot. My wife ends up sending all the bills from the ambulance and everything like that to this guy. But anyway, that was kind of where the end of my enamor or my love of the holiday of the 4th of July, if I ever did truly love it. That was kind of it. And now I hate it even more because of the fact that we have a dog and she is not fond of the noise. And where we live, we have, of course, neighbors that are across the street that buy tons and tons and tons of them. They're loaded. They have a huge house, and they buy a ton of fireworks. And it doesn't matter if it rained, which it actually did. It actually rained the night that most people were lighting them off here. They don't care. They're going to sit out in the back of their yard, and they are going to light fireworks from dusk, at 7 o'clock at night, and they're going to go right through midnight into 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was up in my bedroom trying to sleep, and I was still hearing noises at 2, 3 a.m. And it's just beyond ridiculous. And again, our dog, 2 years ago, we had to get her like a sedative. And then we thought she was getting a little older. and stuff like that. And so a few days ago, I woke up, and now normally my dog will be downstairs. She sleeps downstairs when we go up to bed. And then she'll come up in the bedroom and she'll come up in the bedroom and she'll lay on the mat next to my bed. So I wake up and I look next to my bed and I see her laying on the bed, and her tongue is like almost like down to she is panting. There's drool spots all over her blanket, which I've never seen her do before. So I panic and I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with the dog? And so I wake my wife up, and we come downstairs, and there are drool spots literally all over our carpet on the floor. There's even a couple spots where she had accidents. So she went to the bathroom on the rug. And so I'm flipping out, and I'm not knowing what's wrong with her. Now I knew that they were shooting stuff off, but I didn't think it was like horrendously bad. But we didn't know what was wrong with her. So my wife and I were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because of course, now this was the 4th of July. That was the night before the 4th of July that this happened. So there's nowhere to go. There's no vet that's going to be open. So we end up deciding that we're going to have to take her to the animal hospital. Now, when you go to one of these things, they will charge you a minimum of about $1,500 even to look at your pet. Which is going to have to go on a credit card and all this kind of stuff. So it ends up, and I was scheduled to work. So my wife said to me, well, we're going to pay this big bill. I'm taking her, and I'm down to the hospital. So she had a friend of hers go with her, and they took her to the hospital. I was so distraught that I didn't think I was ever going to see her again. She looked like she was in such poor shape. She was shaking. I didn't think I was going to see her. I thought they were going to take her down there and something was going to happen where they were going to either put her to sleep and I was never going to see her again. So I was losing it because my last dog that passed away, she passed away when I went to the hospital. I went to the hospital on the day that she passed away. I was taken to the hospital because I had a really bad infection in my leg, and I was admitted, so I could not see her. I couldn't say goodbye to her or anything like that. She got sick the same time, and they put her down. So I'm like, oh my God, I cannot have this happen again. Long story short, she was okay, but she had a panic attack, and that's what the doctor said they diagnosed her with. She said she had a panic attack, and so they gave her some meds to kind of calm her down a little bit, and so she's been doing good ever since, thankfully. But you can see my history with this holiday and why I absolutely hate it. I hate it. And now after this year, I hate it even more. If it were up to me, I would literally take our dog. I would take my wife and we'd go stay in a hotel where we didn't have to we didn't have to be by any fireworks. I would take her to like a place where they take pets, and I would just go just to stay out of this area until they all just clear out of here with it. I even thought about maybe my daughter, because my daughter's living in a summer home not that far from us. And I even thought that maybe she could take her because it's usually nice and quiet there where they are. They're out by like a lake and everything like that. But number one, I don't think they're really allowed to have pets. And number two, so obviously I don't want to get her in trouble with that. But the second thing is she ended up calling and saying that they were even shooting them there, which they're not even supposed to. So anyway, that's my 4th of July story. I hope your holiday went better. And like I said, whether you like it or not, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a holiday for young people, and I'm older now, and I just don't care for it anymore. But there's just a lot of circumstances that have gone on in my life that led me to just really not like the holiday, and not, obviously what it represents and what it turns out to be are two different things, like many holidays kind of are. But I'm very, very glad it's over. Most of the people that were staying around here in town, with their relatives and stuff cleared out now. And I'm very, very glad we're past it. So, but anyway, I hope yours went well. If you chose to to go anywhere, or to, some people I know go camping and things like that. But if you celebrated, I hope you enjoyed it, because obviously you can imagine, for the reasons I just listed, that it is not one of my favorite holidays. So, all right. Well, anyway, that's my little rant for the week. I wanted to say congrats. I was able to give away more season passes. So first of all, thanks to Second Dinner for allowing that. And secondly, thanks to all of you. I had a lot of people who came out who posted and stuff like that for the first 2 that I gave away. Then I gave away 2 more. So it was kind of cool. So congrats to the winners of the season passes that I gave away. My YouTube channel is growing ever so slightly, but I'm up to, I think it's 865 subs now. So I'm 75, 85, 95, 35. So I'm like 135 subs away from hitting 1,000 subs, which would be awesome if I can make that number. And as I told you guys, I'm going to get into some game streaming at some point in looking like probably in September-ish, around that time. I'm gonna do that from my PlayStation, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be relatively simple for me to do, because old guys like me like simple. And besides, I've said to you guys before on the pod, that my computer is like 6 years old, and maybe even more than that now. And it's a desktop, and it was never made for, proper gaming. It doesn't have a graphics card that's made for, playing really, really graphic intensive games and things like that. I was able to play Snap on there, when I had it on Steam. But it's kind of slow, and then trying to do that and stream at the same time, I'm thinking would just tax it. And so I'm not gonna attempt it on there, but I figure, with the PlayStation, and of course that's direct connected right to my internet in the house and stuff. And we do have, high speed internet. So figure that, the fact that the camera just hooks right into the PlayStation and things like that might not be a bad idea and might be fun to do. Now, obviously Snap is not on consoles. So I won't be able to stream Snap on there, but there are some very, very cool games that are coming out for PlayStation. One of which they're talking a lot about in the news today, because, and we're going to get to this. I'm going to get this in Pixel Perspective. I'm going to give my perspective on the controversy about the physical media, as opposed to the digital media and stuff like that Sony announced. So I'm going to get into my opinions about that. Might be a little bit different than some other people's, but today they had the company that is making the Halloween game that I have been telling you guys I'm so excited for, and I'm definitely going to stream that. Has released or put out a physical game edition of it. So they're going to have a box set that I think costs like $150, but they're also going to have physical copies of the game, which is, look, they're a smaller company. It is kind of smart to do. The game is going to sell a lot just because of the name Halloween and the movie property, but it's kind of smart for them to put out an actual physical game and disc, because of what's going on, and a lot of people just kind of want those right now. So, smart idea to do that. But they just put it out there today for order. I think it was on Amazon. It is no longer there, so it's probably going to be tough to get the $150 edition. But the other kind of weird thing is the physical game will not be out until after the game releases. So the people who already pre-ordered the digital, which I did, not knowing there is going to be a physical, the people who ordered the physical copy won't be able to play on day one, because that doesn't come out for a while after it releases. So we'll see. Do I get the physical copy for nostalgia? I'm not sure. Maybe it's $39.99, I think, for the normal physical copy, which isn't horrible. But I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if I'll do that, because you're kind of wasting money at that point, because I'm already going to have it digitally. There are some things that you can get extra, like skins and stuff for characters and Michael, but you're still going to be able to just purchase those separately anyway. So we'll see. But I'll get into that in pixel perspective a little bit later on. But anyway, congrats to the season pass winners. And obviously we're in Spider-Man month. So today we're going to be talking in Comics Corner. We're going to talk about Mary Jane. We're going to talk a little bit about Aunt May, and we're going to talk a little bit about Tarantula. So we're going to cover all three today. And of course, we're not going to talk about Spider-Man because I think you guys all pretty much know who Spider-Man is. You know his origin story. If you don't, you're either living under a rock or you are not a superhero fan. And if that's the case, you're probably not listening to this podcast. So yeah, so we're not going to talk about Spider-Man. I'm sure you all know that he got bitten by the radioactive spider. You know how it happened. Many of you have probably read the comic. Maybe you didn't read the original Spider-Man comic book, Amazing Fantasy, that he debuted in. You might have gotten yourself a graphic novel that had it in there and whatnot. So again, I don't really think there's a need to go over Spider-Man, but we will cover those three in Comics Corner a little later on. We will talk some Snap, of course, to start the show. And let's see what I have on my agenda here. I did post it, I think. Oh, let's see. Yes, so we're going to talk about did the move meta, which is what people were kind of calling it. This was a lot of move stuff and everything like that. Did the move meta shake anything up? And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, I have written here, Mother Askani and Gambit. When is enough enough? I'm hoping that someone notices it. And by the way, I got enough dose of Mother Askani today because I watched the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97, which is phenomenal, by the way. And Mother Askani is in that, along with Ramatut is in that as well. So it's been really good. It's been really good. They put out the first 3 episodes a couple of weeks ago. I think it was or last week, but I just got to watch them today. So I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute at the movies, along with also talk about Obsession, because I actually did watch it, but I watched it in a unique way, so I didn't have to kind of see a lot of it, but I'll tell you about that too. And how the star of that, I think her name is Indy Navarrete or Navarrete, I think it's Navarrete. She, by the way, has been in talks with people at Marvel. So, the X-Men are coming, right? So who knows? They might want to get some of these younger folks, these younger actors and actresses in to be a part of their X-Men. And why not? Look, I mean, that is like one of the most, if not the most popular movie that's out right now, Obsession, and it's still making tons of money. It has beaten like records of horror films that have stood for a long time. It beat out The Exorcist in total money made. Like it's beating so many horror films. This little film by an independent director is just doing an amazing things at the box office right now. In fact, it was said that yesterday, because there are people that predict even this early on, like mid-year, what movies are going to be getting like awards and stuff, or be nominated for Academy Awards. And Obsession was listed as one of their 10 movies that's going to be up for an Academy Award this year, which is insane. Horror films do not get noticed usually. I mean, Sinners did last year. And then the only other one I can really remember was Silence of the Lambs. Other than that, horror films do not get recognized very much by the Academies. So that's big. It's absolutely huge. But she, is probably going to have a list of movies that people are going to want her to be a part of. And Marvel would be smart to try to get her as an actress to play in maybe the X-Men or one of their future superhero movies. So, but again, we'll discuss that in a minute at the movies. But Mother Askani and Gambit, getting back to that, we'll talk a little bit about that and why I'm saying when is enough. Those two cards, along with maybe Maverick as well, if you want to throw him in there, they're again, and I've said this before, the combinations are just too much. They're too powerful, and they're just too much. The nerf didn't do anything to Gambit, or to Horseman Gambit, or to Mother Askani. It meant nothing. It was too little, and I'm hoping that they see that, and I'm hoping that these really get socked, because I think they need to be taken out of the prominence of the game that they are. Then I'm going to go do a week in Snap, which of course is, or in a Snap rather, which is my week in the game. I'm sitting in the mid 80s. I haven't really played much ladder so far this month, and I didn't really start that far from there. I started in the 70s and I plowed up through the 80s. I got to like 87 or so, and that's kind of where I am. I haven't really been playing all that much since then, because I noticed that that mostly people were playing move, and I've said this to you guys countless times on this pod. I am not a move guy. I do not like move. Not a move player. So I wasn't really enjoying that, knowing that so many people were going to be playing that. That's really not my kind of meta. So I have not been playing. Now I probably will start playing again though, because I'm seeing that this week with Tarantula is going to be like just a big cards type of week, where people I've already gone up against people playing Sauron. I've gone up against people playing Techno-Organic Virus, because they want to be playing big cards to activate Tarantula's ability. So at least it's changed in that respect, where it's not all move. But even still, you're still seeing a lot of the buff decks from last month. People are still playing the Jeff, the Venus decks, and things like that. So we'll talk about my week in the game. Then, of course, we have, like I said, Mary Jane, Aunt May, and Tarantula in the comics. We'll talk about in Comics Corner. And then, of course, a minute at the movies. Along with what I mentioned already, we'll talk about the Doomsday trailer date. Doomsday trailer date, which I was spot on with this one. I knew it when we didn't get it. When they kind of thought we were going to get it, which was last month. I kind of figured what the date was going to be. I told you guys, if you remembered on the show, but I think I was pretty much right, especially with the way that the advertising's going for it so far. But we'll talk about the Doomsday trailer, upcoming date, and we'll talk about X-Men 97 Season 2 and more. And then, of course, we will finish up with Pixel Perspective and my views on the end of physical media for the PlayStation, for Sony, and where that is going to lead, and what's it going to amount to. So I'll get to that at Pixel Perspective. All right, so let's get started, shall we? And we'll go through. So did the move meta shake anything up? Well, I mean, whenever a new season starts, people are going to want to be playing the new season cards. So, like I said, in the first week of the season, I was seeing a lot of move and stuff like that. So what did I resort to at that point? Well, I mean, you guys all know me. And what do I resort to when everybody wants to play like a deck where you're moving things around, you're kind of trying to figure out where you want things to be and all that stuff? Well, you know who's really good against that kind of thing is Galactus. So, I got to shout out Glazer, because I watched Glazer's early videos for being able to hit Infinite with, and one of them was a Galactus deck, which I'll tell you guys what it consists of later. It was very, very different from the ones I usually play. Mostly focusing on like the early priority and having like smaller cards that are just going to give you priority, that you're just going to be able to blow up later and turn it into like a big null at the end of the game. So essentially that's what it was. Now there have been versions of Galactus with null in them, and that the one that comes to mind that people are still playing to this day, that has X-23 in it, that has Ultron in it, because you could fill your board and blow it all up with Killmongers to make your null bigger. That one. That's been around for a while. But there are some players that still play it, which I honestly think are probably bots. because, the deck is still up there on the charts. It's not high at all, up there, but it's still a deck that exists. But I played Galactus, and Galactus is pretty much what took me from where I was in the 60s, through the 70s, no, I'm sorry. I started in the 70s this month because I was in the 90s last month. Yeah. So it took me through the 70s and got me like midway to where I was through the 80s, until it started to kind of fail a little bit, because at that point, the meta shifted back again to the buff meta. And when you've got a buff meta, you're not gonna be able to gain priority to play Galactus. So anyway, but did the move meta shake things up for a little bit, a day or two maybe, but I'm not really seeing, and I just had a session of the game the last couple hours I played, and I'm not really seeing too many people playing move. I'm seeing more people playing with the big stuff for the Tarantula this week than I'm really seeing people playing move. And really, the only move cards I ran up against was Jeff, the baby dolphin. I didn't even see Spider-Man in any of the decks I've played so far today. So to answer that question, no, I really don't think it did. And I think that's because of my next question, or my next statement here, and that's the statement about Mother Askani and Gambit, whether that be Gambit, the Horseman Gambit, or just regular Gambit, but the Horseman Gambit's the more obnoxious one. But I think that a big reason why is because people are just realizing that these other decks just wipe out these move decks. So that the decks with Askani, the decks with Horseman Gambit, some of them have both in there. They just trash those decks because they're all smaller cards and they just wipe the board out. So when is enough enough? Well, I'll say this. When you're looking to sell season passes and you're looking to get people excited about turning over to a different month, you've got to make sure that broken cards, or some of these cards that have been kind of broken for a little while, you got to make sure that they're taken care of. If not, and they're allowed to still be running rampant out there, then you are not going to have people paying much attention to the season pass. You are not going to have people, other than maybe trying the decks out for a little while and realizing that they just don't keep up with these other cards. And, it's a problem that, I'm sure, look, Snap is, I'm sure, not the only game that has this issue, right? It's a card game thing where, when you try to make new cards, and the cards, and you've had a couple of cards along the way that are just very, very overpowered. You may have even tried to deal with them like the guys in Snap have, but they still are, they're still the ones that everybody is going to turn to because, and this goes for, and I've said this before, when you're seeing the decks on, like if you're watching creators and you're watching them play what they're saying are the top decks, or, the best decks out there and stuff like that, and you're seeing these lists, these are the ones you're going to play. And look, I told you, I love Glazer. I watch him all the time, and when he puts out his best deck lists, a lot of them still are. KM Best is the same way. A lot of them still are the lists with Askani and Maverick and things like that are still listed as some of these best decks. So regardless of what the numbers say, where, the company itself might be looking at it from a numbers standpoint, regardless of what the numbers say, people are still playing these decks because they are just way more powerful than anything that you're going to come out with in this new month, unless all of a sudden you have another broken card that everybody's going to gravitate to, because that's what's going to happen. In a card game And this is what can sometimes make card games boring. But in a card game, you're going to see that that you just, you will have a card that stands out above the rest. And this goes with like almost any set of the cards that, there's usually a handful of really desirable cards that people want because they know that they're powerful. And this again goes back to my Magic days. And so they're going to want that card. And then they're also going to want to make a deck with that card. And this is why you're seeing so many people are playing with Mother Askani and Maverick and all that kind of stuff. They're playing with it because they're having it played against them. They're seeing, the board fill up with like cheap Sasquatches that are 11 power or whatever the case might be. And they're like, or it's a Silver Surfer list where you're getting a gigantic brood and then you're getting you're getting other just huge cards on the board. And this is what they're going to gravitate to because they're going to realize it themselves or they're going to see it. They're going to see creators playing it. And putting out videos that say, this is the best deck in the game, or this deck is so powerful, or, with all the headers and stuff that they use on YouTube, which that's what you do. That's what YouTube is. So that's why I think that it's not, you're not really seeing a move deck with Spider-Man in it that has really come into prominence, or a deck with Mary Jane or Aunt May that has really stood out as one of the best decks of the month. And you're still seeing, when you're watching these creators' videos, the same old lists of these decks that are still just extremely good. KM's latest list was the Doom, had a thing about the Doom deck. And all of a sudden now the Doom deck has come back because the Doom deck is really good with Sandman because it disrupts a lot of that other stuff that people are doing on the last turn that they want to do and blurt out all those cards in one turn. Regis Kilbin had a unique one on the other day, which is a discard list that I'll talk about because I have it. I played it a few times. But it's literally a discard list that uses Invisible Woman, the original Invisible Woman, and hides a MODOK. So it's like the old Hide a Hela list, where you'd hide the MODOK and the Hela behind an Invisible Woman, and then it would have that last turn where it did everything all at once, and then you're going to just win on the last turn. Well, this one is similar to that. Except it basically is just hiding the MODOK, but you're also going to have a Moon Girl in your deck, where you have a I'm trying to think of some of the cards, but Dakin of course is in the list, and so you'll play Dakin, he'll play one of the shards, and then you'll Moon Girl, and then you'll get another shard. And then you have a Wolverine in there that's going to jump out when you discard him. You have a Proxima Midnight that's going to jump out when you discard him. And so imagine if you have two of each of those. You're also going to have a Marrow in there that maybe you'll have two of, and it's going to make all the cards negative on the other side of the board. And Regis featured that, and it's a very powerful list. It also has Supergiant, which is going to hurt a lot of these other decks because that's one of the tech cards that people are using against them. So, long story short, I really don't think that you're going to see a change. And I don't care. It may go all throughout the rest of this season, and we may go into the next one, which is the Western theme one, I think. But this may last all through the rest of this season, where it just doesn't change, and you're just still gonna see the buff lists, the Gambit Horseman list, the Askani stuff. You're still going to see that until something is done. And I kind of think it's high past the time now where those two cards, especially Askani, at 3 cards really, Askani, Mother Askani, Gambit, Horseman of Death, and Maverick, I think all need to be hit. All of them, all 3. You could even say, though, that Maverick really isn't as popular as he was, because now people are using Stick for that exact same thing. But Stick is able to get the power higher now a lot of times than Maverick does. So maybe it's Stick that needs to be looked at. I don't know. But in any case, I don't think you're really going to see much of a change. And in fact, those decks with Mother Askani and stuff like that are now including anti-move cards. So they're including Mercury in their decks. That can shut down the move list. So that's an even more of a deterrent for people to want to play move, because, and I even saw that, like I think it was the first day of the Spider-Man season, most people were playing Mercury Cannonball. So whenever a move list comes to prominence, you're going to see Mercury Cannonball, and that's going to pretty much hammer home anything you're going to think of that move might end up doing. Because it's going to have Mercury Cannonball, and Mercury will stop any of those cards, including Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man, any of the other ones, from moving anywhere. So yeah, I mean, take that for what you will. Again, this is just my opinion, but I can imagine it gets frustrating, for people when they want to play something a little different and they just can't, because they cannot compete with their deck against these other decks, because either Gambit's blowing up their cards, or somebody is stopping them from moving the cards, or whatever the case might be. So I think it's past the time where these cards are just, and I've said this, they nerfed the crap out of Star-Lord to the point where Star-Lord doesn't get included anymore anywhere, other than he was in this goofy Fallen One deck, where people were just trying to get this big last turn with a ton of energy, with a huge Fallen One and a Star-Lord. It was just silly. But I really believe that the meta is not going to change. Now maybe, people will start to experiment a little bit with, like Sinister Six, for instance, when that comes out, because again, people love big things. They love big cards. And that's why I think you're going to see a lot of people playing big card lists this week. They love big cards. So that card's going to be a huge card, but you're also going to have people that are going to start playing Shadow King, because all they have to do is Shadow King the Sinister Six, and guess what? All that power is gone. So yeah, like I said, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. It's part of card games. It has been for a long time. But that said, I really kind of think it's time to look into the three cards that I mentioned above, or prior, not above. I'm looking at my phone. Mentioned prior, and until that happens, once again, I think we're just kind of stuck where we are in the meta. So, all right, that is that little bit of the discussion. And let's go back here. All right. Well, look, we'll go into my week in the game, and like I was saying earlier, not really. Now I'm gonna put the game on here really quickly, and hopefully it's muted. I think it is. I hope. We'll see. I don't want the game noise to be playing here in the background. I think it's muted. Is it muted? Yes, I think it is muted. So, okay. So we'll just go over some stuff that I was playing. Well, first I'll give you the one I played today. This is from Tucker, actually, the featured deck for the new card for Tarantula. But this is a Sauron list. Kind of fun to see Sauron back in the game. Sauron, Zero, Ebony Maw, along with Techno-Organic Virus, Tarantula, Lizard, Luna Snow, Starbrand, Ares, Typhoid Mary, Loud Motorcycle in the background, Red Skull, and Scar. So nothing crazy here, except for the fact that you do have the Tarantula in there. That's going to keep on gaining power for obviously his ability. End of turn, if you have the highest power among cards in play, Give this and 2 cards in your hand +1 power. So he'll gain a point of power, and then 2 other cards in your hand will also gain power. So, yeah, look, not a bad card. I wouldn't say he's a great card. Not bad, especially if you're going to play this kind of list. The other one I was playing is pretty similar to this. But it's more in line with the techno-organic virus stuff. This one is Quinjet, King Eitri, techno-organic virus, Tarantula, Daredevil, the Shadowlands Daredevil, Lizard, Namorita, Starbrand, Wilson Fisk, Red Skull, Sasquatch, and Scar. So kind of a big cards list, but also more akin to the, getting the Daredevil out early, using the King Eitri for that, then getting the techno-organic virus out so you can shut down Starbrand and get rid of the negative effects on Lizard, and also maybe then get rid of the negative effect on Red Skull. So they were the 2 that I was playing earlier. And what I did see was a lot of people are playing big card lists. I saw some people playing Nightmare, some people playing Surtur. So that's kind of cool. At least it's something different. The Galactus deck that I mentioned that I was talking about earlier. And again, this was on Glazer's best decks list. Now I changed it up a little bit because I did add Tarantula to this as well. Because it can, it can give bonuses to, some of your cards, because again, this is for getting priority, right? So I have Nightcrawler, Black Cat, and Martyr, all to get you some early power. Now the one that was on Glazer's list also had Ebony Maw. But Ebony Maw is very tricky because the only way you're going to want to play him is like after turn 3, when you're going to be able to play him and Techno-Organic Virus down at the same time. Because otherwise you're shutting down that one lane. Now, if you just want to get priority and you know you have Galactus and you know you have Wave already, or, one of those cards, then it's not so bad because it's going to be kill fodder at that point. You're just going to add to the null that's in the list. But it's Nightcrawler, Black Cat, Martyr, Techno-Organic Virus, Tarantula, Electro, Crystal for card draw, Luna, Wave, Blink, Null, and Galactus. So again, the whole point of this is, and it's pretty simple, get priority any way you can. Dig for the Galactus if you need to with Crystal, and then hopefully you have the Galactus, and then you're going to play it. Hopefully having the priority, you're going to blow everything up on the board. So all this stuff is nothing but cannon fodder. And that's pretty much all it is. And then you want to drop that null on the last turn of the game, which in many cases you're just going to win. I beat a destroyed deck yesterday who also played null. So we had a tie with each one of the nulls that we played, but I just beat him because I had the Galactus in the lane and I also had the Martyr in the lane. So I beat him by that little bit of an amount. So, but yeah, this one did pretty well. Like I said, I played this from where I started, which was 70 something all the way through like 87. So it got me where I got to just playing this deck. Here is the discard list that I talked to you about. So this is Meek, Elektra, Morbius, Marrow, Wolverine, Invisible Woman, that's the regular one, not the first steps, Daken, Moon Girl, Supergiant, Proxima Midnight, MODOK, and Blink. Blink is to just is only really in there to just get the MODOK if you don't have it. So that's just a way to get the MODOK out. Very similar to how you play Hela. Elektra's probably replaceable by something a little bit better. I know he had it in there, and it would, he was popping off like 1 cards that were out there early on, but I don't know that she's necessary. You could always either go with another discard type card. Maybe you could go with like a Lady Bullseye for some more negative stuff out there, but yeah, you might want to mess around with it a little bit. But this was fun in the games that I played. Obviously, the whole thing keys on you getting Invisible Woman out and then hiding some cards under that. Obviously, you're going to play Supergiant, and then you want to play Moon Girl. Yeah, so in essence, you want to already have MODOK behind the Invisible Woman at some point. Then you're going to go Super Giant, and you're going to Moon Girl, you're going to fill your hand, and then you're going to MODOK on the last turn because he's underneath the Invisible Woman. So that's essentially what you want to do. And then at that point, you're going to get a Wolverine that'll go out there. You're going to get a pretty good Meek if you already have Meek on the board. Morbius will be big, also with all the cards being discarded. If you have Dakin out, you're going to get Dakin with at least one shard, maybe two if you Moon Girl it. And then you're going to get Proxima Midnight. You may have two of those that might pop out. You might have two Wolverines. And so on and so forth. And that's pretty much how you win. So, if you obviously don't get MODOK, then that is when you retreat, because that's pretty much your whole play. You're not going to win really without it. So if you do not get MODOK in the game, you're just going to be forced to retreat. The Doom deck that I mentioned that KM talked about, this is the standard Doom list that's been this way forever. In fact, it still has Chamber, which I think, and KM Best alluded to it too. It's a lousy card. It's a really bad card since it got nerfed. So I don't know if you should look for maybe something different to put in here, as an early card. But, Chamber is just not good. Moondragon, Invisible Woman, First Steps, Caliban, Drax, Iska, Doom, Iron Lad, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Sandman, Doctor Doom, and Galactus First Steps. So that is that list, which has been relatively the same. And I think that's it. I think that's relatively all I played. There's a Loki list that's floating around, but this is one of those ones that this Loki's in it, Kang is in it, Kraglin's in it, Gambit, the Horseman one is in it, so that's floating around out there too. But yeah, those are generally the decks that I played. Obviously, we have Team Clash going on right now for Tombstone, so Tombstone is in there. If you haven't gotten him already, I pretty much just paid the gold to get through it because this is not one of the fun ones for me. At least you can customize the decks again here, but Team Clash is just not. Again, this was the one I said like a couple weeks ago that this feels more like a chore. And I'm, so I just paid my way through it and I got the card. Haven't tried Tombstone. I've seen some content creators that did and said he's pretty good. He's able to blow up 2 cards at lanes where maybe you wouldn't have been able to prior. So in that case, I guess, I don't know if he'll make a destroy, like the standard destroy list. Takes a lot to crack that. But who knows? Maybe. You never know. Collector's Vault's up. I have the Tarantula special offer because I have the card. The Tombstone special offer. There's a Silver Surfer special offer. There's a Spider-Man Noir called the Case Closed bundle. A Steel Offensive with Hydra Stomper bundle. A Smooth Moves with Silk bundle. And then in my shop today, I didn't even look at this yet. Dan Hips. Oh my God. And they're all 700. Oh man. They're all 700. I'm going to get all these for free, dude. We have Dan Hipp's Spider-Man Noir. Dan Hipp's Prowler. Oh, that's cool. I love the Prowler. Dan Hipp's Hydro Man. Dan Hipp has a Hydra Bob. Didn't Dan Hipp have a Hydra Bob? I guess he didn't. Dan Hipp, Marvel Boy. Dan Hipp, Scarlet Spider, which is kind of cool. Oh, he has a ripped mask. That is cool. I love Dan Hipp's art, man. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Dan Hipp Chameleon holding on to Spider-Man's mask and has a whole bunch of other heroes' masks in the back of him. That's really cool. And then we have Dan Hipp's Man Spider. So Dan Hipp album today, guy. I wonder if did they make another album for it? Because I know they've had Dan Hipp albums in the past. Let me see. Gonna find out. Oh yeah, they did. Stay hip or get hit. Oh, man, dude, look. Oh, Thanos. The Dan Hip Thanos is in the album, along with an Arnim Zola that has a rainbow. Oh, my God. That's an emote. A rainbow emote with Arnim Zola. That's cool, dude. Well, you know what? I'm probably going to end up collecting a lot of these anyway because I'll get a lot of them for free. But that's really cool. I love Dan Hip, man. I love my Dan Hip variants and stuff. And, so cool that you're still seeing him do stuff in 4 Snap. Cause I know, a lot of them have gotten away from it a little bit. You haven't seen some of the regular artists and, you're tending to see a lot more of the studios and stuff, which, the studios are fine. I'm not going to say that they're, but they're a little bit obviously different, in my heart than the actual artists themselves are. The ones that do the more like the AI stuff and the studio type stuff and things like that. So, I'll always have a special place in my heart for the comic book art or the artists who actually draw, the stuff and everything, themselves. So, but yeah, so that's cool. So a Dan Hip album is out there and, all very affordable, for the gold. I'm just I'm whatchamacalliting, I am upgrading some cards here. I'm gonna upgrade Tarantula, and I'm gonna see if I can snag myself one of these Dan Hip variants. Let's see. Oh, I did get one. There you go. You guys brought me luck. I got the Spider-Man Noir Dan Hip variant. So there you go. That's my first one of the album. So that's cool. I got that. That will now be my favorite Spider-Man Noir. I will put that right in there. I like Dan Hip's colors too. Makes it look really cool. He's like got that pink behind him and stuff like that. Really, really kind of neat. So there you go. So I got one. I got the first one in the album. Let me see. I'm going to go to the album and let's see here. There he is. Yeah, so I need 2 more to get the Arnim Zola holding the rainbow over his head. I need all of them to get the Thanos. The Thanos is cool looking too, dude. Very, very cool looking. He's got the gauntlet. Very, very cool. I wish you could see how you split him, but it's not letting me do so. Yeah, man, I'm gonna probably have to get all of these. Let me see what else is in here, because some of them didn't show up in the shop yet. So a Prowler. Oh, there's a Spider-Punk. Zombie Scarlet Witch. Superior Spider-Man. Of course, Marvel Boy I mentioned. Hydra Bob. Sebastian Shaw is in this album as well. Man Spider, of course, I mentioned. Hydro Man, I mentioned. Chameleon, I mentioned. And Scarlet Spider. So most of them were all in today, but there are a couple that didn't get into it yet. So let me, here's what I'm going to do too. While I have you guys here. Let's spend a little gold, shall we? Let's have fun. Let's spend a little gold. And because I know normally in the shop, if I buy anything in the shop, I'm not guaranteed to get anything really good. So let's buy a couple of these. Which ones do I want? Think of some that I play. I play Hydra Bob. Man, I do like that Man Spider. I'm going for the Man Spider. I do like this. I like that a lot. It's pretty cool. And I think I'm going to go with the Prowler because I do like him too. So there you go. I bought 2. And there you go. All right. So That gets me to the Arnim Zola. So I got the Arnim Zola. Should we call him Arnim Zola Taste the Rainbow? It's kind of cool. He's like spreading the rainbow between his hands. Very, very cool emote. I like it. All right, cool. So, yeah, next one I'll get some borders, 3 premium mystery borders. Then you get 4,000 tokens, and then you get the Thanos if you get them all. So, like I said, I should be able to get all these along the way, because I should get one of these every time I'm able to get a card. So that's kind of why I like the Dan Hips. So that's awesome. It's a cool little thing that came out today. Conquest, I'm at 4 out of 9 purchases to get the Spider-Ham, who's holding a string of weenies, by the way. That's a Matt Dixon variant of Spider-Ham. So I need 700 more medals to get the gold ticket and the 75 Spider-Ham boosters. And then that will leave me with just 3 more, which I'll need to get next week. And what else? Let's see. Like I said, Collector's Vault. I think I went over all the bundles and stuff like that. I talked about the Dan Hip. Oh, let's go over variants. What I got this week. So we'll go back here and look at newest. So I just told you I got the Prowler, Man Spider, and Spider-Man Noir from Dan Hip. I have a MODOK variant, which I was able to get. Giulio Rincioni variant of MODOK. Oh, by the way, it's Twitch drops. I think Twitch drops are today. When I get done doing this, I'll have to jump on Twitch and watch a streamer and get some Twitch drops, because I'll also get a mystery variant from that too, which will guarantee me another Dan Hip. So I'll have to do that. So make sure you check out your favorite creators for the Twitch drops. But this is the, Giulio Rincioni variant of MODOK, which is kind of cool. The Ryan Benjamin variant of Chameleon, that's from the portal pull that is going on right now. Of course, the Tombstone variant, it's Benny Amino Brady. Benny Amino Brody. I would think that's probably, it sounds Italian. So Benny Amino Brody, Tombstone variant is very, very cool. Very, very cool variant. That's at the end. You'll get that if you finish Team Clash. Whether you finish it with, yourself, or you finish it by paying the gold. The base art you get much earlier. I got a Horseman of Salvation variant of Magneto, which is kind of neat. Wearing like all these robes. He's of course got the purple cape on, but he's much, much older. He has a long beard, long white hair. Looks like Odin almost a little bit, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool variant. I got a Dan Hip Ezekiel Sims as well throughout this week. I also got this one. This is now my favorite Vulture, because it's the Michael Keaton Spider-Man, the very first Spider-Man movie version of Vulture, with not the Tobey Maguire one, but there was no Vulture in those movies. There was supposed to be, by the way. When they were going to make a 4th film in that series, and Vulture was actually supposed to have been in the one with Sandman, but they ended up putting Venom. They shoehorned Venom into that because the studio wanted him in there. But I love this costume that Michael Keaton wore for Vulture, and I love this helmet. It was very creepy with the little green eyes and stuff like that, so I like it, and the card's cool. I got a Cannonball variant, Trado Moore's Cannonball, which is very cool, very animated. Mary Jane's variant by Anand Ramcharan. Very cool artwork for Mary Jane. And then I did get the Venomized variant of Thor, and also the Venomized variant of M'Baku. And I finally got this one. The Kel New variant of Cassandra Nova has like the demon behind her, which is always kind of cool, but I never had that one. Come to think of it, was that in Deadpool's Diner? That might have been in one of like the first Deadpool's Diner that you can get that variant of her at the very tail end. And I just remember not doing it because I was getting frustrated with it back then. But I think that was in the one where you got her from the very first. So that's cool. I finally got that. Zero Diet Cola is my drink of choice. Oh my God. They are coming out with so many awesome sodas, especially Diet. They have a Mountain Dew, a dirty Mountain Dew, which I never knew what that was. But it's Mountain Dew with cream soda mixed in with it. And now Mug Root Beer has a Mug Cream Root Beer flavor in Diet. So they're coming out with a lot of cool new soda flavors. And I told you guys about the creamy coconut Dr. Pepper, still my all-time favorite. I'm hoping that they bring that back at some point. Did I get any others? I think that's it. Oh no, I got a chibi of Hope Summers. A Hope Summers chibi. So I got a good amount of variants this week. A lot of them, actually. And where I was kind of dry the week before. So, and like I said, I'm at 86 now. I was at 87, so you could see I went on my usual weekly losing streak. But yeah, so that's where I'm at in the game right now. That's where I am, and that's what was all the bundles and stuff like that. So go get some Dan Hips. Go get some Dan Hips. And then the Collector's Vault is in there as well right now. So, all right, moving along. We are going to go to Comics Corner, and we are going to talk about some women in Spider-Man's life, and also one of the most annoying villains that he's ever come across. And we'll talk about him as well. So, all right, let's start off with Mary Jane. Because Aunt May is going to have a longer history, so we'll start off with her, and we'll talk about where Mary Jane originated. Now she's been in comics for a long time, a long time. So we'll get the scoop. Mary Jane Watson, Earth 616. Her current alias, she is now Venom. She is now Venom in the comic books. How weird is that? Mary Jane is Venom. Her code name, she had a code name called Jackpot. Her editorial names are Amazing Mary Jane, Friendly Neighborhood Mary Jane, and All New Venom. Her nicknames, MJ, of course, Copper Top, like the battery. That's weird. Friendly Neighborhood, Spider Wife, Tigress, Mrs. Webbs, Pudding Woman, Red, and Mrs. Jane. Her impersonations, Black Cat, Melanie Daniels, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. Her quote is, "We're not an it. We're not a monster. And we're definitely not just another symbiote. We're Venom. Don't wear it out." So that's recent. That's a recent commentary from her being Venom now. So Mary Jane Watson was the main love interest of Peter Parker, her childhood friend, and the superhero known as Spider-Man. She came from a broken household due to her father's verbal abuse and the need to support her family, and as a result had a difficult childhood. She very often visited her aunt Anna, a close friend of May Parker, who saw her as the ideal love for her nephew Peter. At first, Peter was reluctant to date her, not only due to their contrasting personalities, but also due to being in a relationship with Gwen Stacy at the time, who was also friends with MJ. Unbeknownst to Peter, she was aware of his secret identity as Spider-Man, having seen him change into his costume the night his Uncle Ben died. So that was the night when, of course, he went after the criminal that killed Uncle Ben as Spider-Man, and he changed into his costume and went out the window. And Mary Jane admits many, many years later that she saw him do that. After the tragic passing of Gwen, there was there to support a broken down Peter, which marked the start of their long-lasting relationship. Thanks to her beautiful looks, acting skills, and fashion sense, MJ worked as a professional actress and fashion supermodel. They eventually married despite previous reluctance. And from then on, MJ directly helped him in his superhero journey. Though she was often put in danger due to this, the most notable case being her horrific experiments with the vengeful Venom. Wow. That comic itself, you guys, if you're Venom fans, you really should read it. This was the McFarlane stuff. And let me tell you, creepy. First of all, Todd McFarlane drew women very, very sexualized. So that can be a little off-putting to some readers. But Mary Jane looked very different when Todd drew her. She had very, very, very long, curly hair, would wear very low-cut stuff, and things like that. So very, very different as opposed to the straight hair that she had in the 70s and stuff like that. But that scene where Venom basically home invades Mary Jane, oh my God. It was like a single panel at the end of the book. And you just didn't know what was going to happen until the next month. And it was absolutely crazy. She and Peter once had a child they named May and attempted to have a new normal life in Oregon, where MJ began work as a theater teacher. Sadly, as soon as the baby was born, she was kidnapped and killed by Peter's archenemy, Norman Osborn. That's horrible. Another traumatizing event involved her getting kidnapped by a crazed stalker, leaving her to be believed dead. Though Peter never gave up hope and eventually rescued her, they remained together for years until their marriage was erased by Mephisto as part of a deal to save May's life. As a result of this, their relationship became strained ever since, to the point of MJ attempted to move on with new partners. Though these new relationships were short-lived. MJ would become an executive assistant of Tony Stark at Stark Industries after her nightclub called MJ's was destroyed during a superhero conflict. MJ and Peter attempted to rekindle their relationship, and in spite of the machinations of the Kindreds and Mephisto, they became a couple again. Fortunately, they broke up once more after entering an alternate reality while fighting the Emissary, where MJ and Peter encountered a man named Paul Rabin. She eventually used a device to send Peter back home and spent nearly 4 years with Paul due to time dilation before Peter's return. During that time, MJ and Paul had found and adopted 2 kids to raise as their own, apparently in a relationship. MJ refused to leave Paul, and they continued their family life in Earth 616. MJ took the code name of the superheroine Jackpot until recently becoming the new host of the Venom symbiote and the foster mother of Dylan Brock. She's born to Philip and Madeline Watson, Montoursville, Pennsylvania. Wow, that's cool. She is the second of 2 children, with her elder sister Gail having been born 4 years earlier. Due to her family's constant moving as a result of her father's various teaching jobs, Mary Jane began developing a more extroverted and carefree personality, a trait which helped her make friends as the Watsons moved from one location to the next. Due to his failing job as a writer, Philip soon began lashing out at his family, going so far as to abuse them. After Madeline left Philip, the Watson women stayed... where did I leave off? Oh, there we go. With various relatives, sorry. One such relative that Mary Jane was particularly fond of was her Aunt Anna, living in Queens, New York. On the night of Ben Parker's murder, Mary Jane spotted a frantic Peter running into his house, with Spider-Man emerging from an upstairs window only moments later. At this, she deduced that Peter and Spider-Man were one and the same. Confused by emotions set off by the discovery, Mary Jane chose to keep this information to herself. And just like Peter refused to pursue a relationship with him, out of fear that he might neglect her for his superhero duties. After numerous attempts by Aunt May to pair Peter and Mary Jane together, Mary Jane finally paid a visit to the Parker home. Unfortunately, as Spider-Man was fighting the Spider Slayer robots, he was not at home. Instead, she encountered Betty Brant and Liz Allen, who were both vying for Peter's attention at the time. Both women were stunned by Mary Jane's beauty. Much like her mother and sister, Mary Jane had an interest in performing arts. Dreaming of a career in either Broadway or film, she starred in high school productions such as Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, as Blanche Dubois in A Streetcar Named Desire, and other various plays and productions. When her mother fell seriously ill, Mary Jane temporarily gave up her acting at school and took a series of after-school jobs to support the family. When Madeline died, Mary Jane left home and was determined not to sacrifice her dreams of happiness, as had her mother and sister. Arriving at her Aunt Anna's house on a Saturday, Mary Jane and Peter finally met face-to-face when Aunt May and Peter came over for Sunday dinner. Knowing that Peter was Spider-Man, when a news bulletin about the escape of the Rhino interrupted the music program the pair were watching, Mary Jane suggested they try and see if they could spot the criminal. Agreeing to this, Peter later left her side as the excuse of having to take pictures for the Daily Bugle, only to reappear battling as Spider-Man. Peter soon introduced Mary Jane to his other college friends, Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn, and Flash Thompson. With the entanglement of these relationships, jealousy and rivalry were underlying constants between Stacy, Osborn, Peter, and Watson. During a gunfight at the Gloom Room, where Mary Jane worked as a dancer, she was put in danger when a criminal tried to use her as a human shield. But Spider-Man rescued her from the ordeal. It was the first time the pair met while Peter was in his Spider-Man costume. During a battle between Spider-Man and Green Goblin atop the Brooklyn Bridge, Gwen died from the impact of Spider-Man's attempt to rescue her with his webbing. When Mary Jane had tried to comfort Peter, he accused her of not being able to understand what it would feel like, even though her own mother died. Though hurt by his outburst, she stayed to comfort Peter regardless. Gwen's death had serious consequences for Mary Jane and Peter's on and off friendship. The feisty and carefree party girl Mary Jane, who had been one of Gwen's best friends, eventually became more serious and sensitive, while grief of loss brought her and Peter closer together. Mary Jane broke off her relationship with Harry Osborn as he was becoming more and more unstable following the death of his father, Norman. Harry then nearly killed both Mary Jane and Peter as he set off a bomb while flying around as a second Green Goblin. On leaving for a trip to Europe, Peter and Mary Jane exchanged a long and passionate kiss, a kiss that would prove to be the turning point in their relationship as Mary Jane realized the true depth of her feelings for Peter. Feelings so strong that even a girl bearing a close resemblance to Gwen could not stop their romance. She was maid of honor at Betty Brant's wedding to Ned Leeds. Peter proposed to Mary Jane with a box of Cracker Jacks with a real diamond ring inside. That's clever. Mary Jane turned him down, claiming to be too much of a free spirit to be tied down with marriage and settling down. She briefly dated star quarterback Brad Davis, but the relationship didn't last. Though they remained friends, Mary Jane continually grew upset over Peter constantly risking his life and breaking dates in order to fight various villains and criminals as Spider-Man. When Mary Jane finally finished college, she left New York to help her Aunt Anna settle down in Florida. It was also a chance for Mary Jane to escape from the dual life of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. After a heated apartment battle between the Puma and Spider-Man, which she witnessed, Mary Jane revealed to Peter that she had known of his dual identity for quite some time. Shortly after opening up and telling Peter of her entire life story, Peter decided that he could trust Mary Jane with his secret, and the two vowed to stay friends and confidants. As time passed, Peter and Mary Jane realized they were deceiving themselves about the depth of their feelings for each other and that they were very much in love. Peter proposed to Mary Jane for a second time. She did not immediately accept, leaving for Pittsburgh, where her sister Gail had been sent to prison. Mary Jane helped the police arrest a real culprit, her father, Philip. Mary Jane reconciled with Gail after years of tension, followed by Mary Jane then accepting Peter's proposal of marriage. So it goes on about the marriage, and that had its own comic. I still own that, I believe. And, of course, the marital struggles, the breaking point, and then, of course, they go over the whole Mephisto thing. And then One More Day, as opposed to Brand New Day. So then that's, I think, where they got that name from. Oh, no, here, Brand New Day. Mary Jane returned as the girlfriend of Hollywood actor Bobby Carr and was later attacked by Paper Doll. Concealing herself in the panic room, she observed a battle between Spider-Man and Paper Doll. So basically, Brand New Day in the comics was after the whole Mephisto thing kind of reset the whole thing, and then Mary Jane and Peter were never married in that timeline. So that was what that was all about. So that is Mary Jane. And now we're going to move on to the other woman who is prominent in Peter's life, and we're going to move on to Aunt May. So many different versions of Aunt May, especially the ones that were in the movies. Of course, the Aunt May in the book was always kind of the old spinster woman who kind of looked a lot more like a grandma. Then she looked like like an aunt. She was much older in the early editions. And then, of course, you had different actresses play her. In the Tobey Maguire one, she played by an older actress there too. And then, of course, you had Marissa Tomei kind of play a younger version of Peter's aunt. So, all right. So Aunt May. Maybelle Parker. Maybelle Parker. So it's Maybelle May Parker. Jameson. She's also, she was married to Jonah Jameson, as well at one point. She has some aliases. She was also, of course, named Riley, which was Uncle Ben's name. Maybelle May Parker. She would have been May, Parker, but also May, Riley. Aunt May. May Holl, I don't know, May Riley, May Parker, May Fitzgerald, Golden Oldie, and May Morgan. Group affiliation, she was affiliated with Howard T. Duck Private Investigations. She was in the Uncle Ben Foundation, Parker Industries, AIM, Grey Panthers, volunteer, also at Feast, which of course is Mr. Negative's alias, had, of course, Feast, and that was in the Spider-Man video game and stuff too. She has a pet, Ms. Lion. That was in the cartoon, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. It was her dog. Her parents are Albert Riley, father, and her mother was Claire. She had a sibling, Annie Riley, who is also deceased. And a quote from Aunt May. Some people by nature are kind and charitable. You could say that some people, including at least one person at this table, are by their nature heroes. Ben always reminded me that we each contain all the nobler and meaner aspects of humanity, but some get a bigger dose than others of one thing or another. Some are pretty and mean and uncharitable. That's their nature. You can hope for better, even try to lead them to better, and you may even succeed. Born Maybelle Riley, she came from a poor family where her parents constantly argued over money. Her father eventually left her, and mother blamed her for the troubles. It was her lack of money that attracted her to a wealthy young rogue named Johnny Jerome. He took her dancing and bought expensive clothes for her. She loved him and refused to hear the warnings from Ben Parker, who worked at Coney Island as a barker. Ben proved to be correct about Johnny after he held up a jewelry store. Johnny threatened to kill Ben, but he had to run off after the police neared May's home. He was arrested as he tried to escape. May soon fell for the responsible Ben. Even after becoming a couple, May and Ben didn't always get along, and they broke up several times. After a big discussion, May and Ben ended their relationship, but 3 weeks later, they got back together and were married, much to May's friend Anna Watson's delight. May and Ben attempted to start a family, but May had a miscarriage and was prevented from having another child when they discovered a cardiac anomaly. May also majored in art history at college. May and Ben took in their nephew Peter after the death of his parents and raised him. Ben immediately took to the role of the boy's father, but May was at first reluctant. She still remembered her parents blaming her own birth for the destruction of their marriage, and she was afraid that Peter might signal the end of their own marriage. In time, however, she warmed up to Peter, who unexpectedly strengthened the couple's marriage. After Ben's death, life became a struggle with money problems, and Peter did his best to help. Peter's secret life as Spider-Man endlessly complicated both his and his aunt's lives. Aunt May lived in constant fear for her frail but now uncountably secretive nephew, who insisted on a job as a freelance photographer. Peter was determined to capture Spider-Man in action, frequently submitting pictures of him to the Daily Bugle. Spider-Man was a vigilante whom Aunt May feared because of her unquestioning acceptance of the Daily Bugle's smearing. Peter feared for his aunt's well-being and the fatal shock that could result if she ever learned about his career as Spider-Man. Peter was often torn between dealing with a major crisis while his aunt needed nearly constant care. The conflict took on a bizarre turn when Aunt May had his enemy, Dr. Otto Octavius, known as Dr. Octopus, as an apparent sweetheart, and even became ready to marry him. Peter struggled to deal with his enemy's game while not hurting his aunt. For a while, Peter moved out. May joined the Grey Panthers, a civil rights group for the elderly, while protesting at City Hall. May had a heart attack and went to the hospital. At this time, she met and began a relationship with Nathan Lubensky. May and Nathan were soon engaged. Soon it was revealed that Nathan had a gambling addiction and was beaten up by his bookie and his thugs. May blamed Peter for Nathan's assault, as he had promised to look after the old man. Soon the relationship ended in tragedy at the hands of the Vulture. False death. Aunt May has died several times. In her most recent death, the Aunt May who died was discovered to be a genetically altered actress who impersoned her while May was held captive by villains. May finally learned about her nephew's secret life once and for all. This resulted in a heartfelt discussion in which aunt and nephew confessed their darkest secrets, and each learned that the other was far stronger than they imagined. After their house was destroyed, Peter, Aunt May, and Mary Jane Watson moved into Stark Towers as Spider-Man had recently joined the New Avengers. This was during Civil War. Aunt May seemed to be developing a romantic relationship with the Avengers' butler, Jarvis. May's quite the fox, yeah? May was quite the strong-willed woman, and even the hard-nosed Wolverine found it impossible to argue with her. During the superhuman Civil War, she and Mary Jane convinced Peter to reveal himself in front of a press conference, and May even made Peter a hand-stitched copy of his original costume. May was forced to leave Stark Towers, soon the Kingpin, one of Spider-Man's frequent enemies, ordered a hit on the now public identity Peter Parker. At the motel that the Parkers were staying in, a sniper kept watch to eliminate Peter. However, when the sniper fired, Peter dodged, grabbing MJ out of the way. Unfortunately, Aunt May was hit by the bullet intended for Peter. At the hospital, she lapsed into a coma, with death likely. May received a radioactive blood transfusion from Peter, which he hoped would once again save her life due to his mutated healing factor. Although the healing factor was in his blood, the radioactivity did nothing to her system. Peter believed she had built-in immunity to his blood, considering this wasn't the first time he had given blood to her. The demon Mephisto offered to restore Aunt May's health at great personal cost to Peter, his life, and his marriage to his wife, Mary Jane. Agreeing to the terms, Mary Jane and Peter had reality altered so that May could live. Spider-Man's identity was once again a secret from her. The cost of Mephisto's offer was the erasure of Peter and Mary Jane's marriage from all memories. So, she also started dating J. Jonah Jameson. Then, of course, this is when Martin Lee and Feast and stuff like that. That she worked for him, of course, unknowing he was Mr. Negative. Superior Spider-Man, again, that was with Doc Ock. She formed an Uncle Ben Foundation. She was diagnosed with cancer, but didn't tell Peter to avoid overwhelming him. However, she decided to tell Peter anyway, which left him desperate. Thankfully, after undergoing surgery, she was able to make a full recovery. There's a quote here from Norman Osborn about her. That is May Parker, and you could no more stop her than you could any force of nature. May partly influenced her nephew Peter's religious views, given that she had always been a devout Protestant Christian. So there you go. Good old Aunt May. I have to look and see. Let's find out. I want to find out where her first appearance was. Amazing Spider-Man, of course, Amazing Fantasy number 15, which is, of course, Spider-Man's first appearance in August 1962. Character was created by writer Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and went on to play an influential role in the Spider-Man comic books. I'm going to look up Mary Jane here, too, because I want to see when she first entered into comics. The Amazing Spider-Man number 25 in June of 1965. The character is created by Stan and Steve Ditko and subsequently designed by John Romita Sr. In number 42, November of 1966. Since then, she's gone on to become Peter's main love interest and later his wife. So there you go. Both of them in the 60s, 65 and 1966. Both of these women came into the comics. So, all right. And last but not least here in Comics Corner, and then we'll dive into the books of the week, is Tarantula. Tarantula is a fictional character name used by several characters, usually supervillains appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. The Anton Miguel Rodriguez incarnation of Tarantula will make his live-action debut in the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe film Spider-Man Brand New Day. First appearance of Tarantula, I had this comic book. The Amazing Spider-Man number 134 from July 1974. I read this when I was 5 years old, which is nuts. The art is by Ross Andrew, and this is the cover that they're going to pay tribute to from this book in the Spider-Man Brand New Day. And you already saw it in the trailer when you see him using he wears boots that have a spike that basically are poisoned. And you could see him using his boot to try to kick Spider-Man when Spider-Man's on this water tower, and he accidentally busts the water tower. and kind of foils his whole own plan. He was never very... I always thought he was cool because I liked his costume and stuff, and the fact that he had an accent and everything. I thought he was cool, but he was never a major villain. He was always kind of more of a laughingstock. Antonio Anton Miguel Rodriguez. He is human. His team affiliations: Brand Corporation, Boca del Rios Revolutionist Forces, and Boca del Rios Fascist Government. Notable aliases: Tarantula, Taranti, El Tarantula, and Mr. Valdez. He is a skilled martial artist, enhanced agility, finger claws, and toe spikes incorporated into the costume, usually envenomed. As tarantula-like creature, superhuman strength, wall-crawling ability, organic webbing shot from buttocks. That is embarrassing, and I did not know that. He was a revolutionary terrorist in the small fictional South American Republic of Delvadia, and was expelled from his small organization after murdering a guard for no reason during a robbery. Anton then went over to the side of the repressive fascist dictatorship government, where the tarantula identity was created for him to serve as a government operative and his country's counterpart of patriotic symbol. After alienating his masters, Anton embarks on a criminal career in the United States. He's hired by the Brand Corporation to silence an informer, but is again thwarted by Spider-Man. The Brand Corporation then orders him to kill Spider-Man in an attempt to bestow him with spider powers. Anton is injected with a mutagenic serum and placed in an electrolyte bath. Will-O-the-Wisp disrupts the process, causing him to transform into a spider-like creature. Horrified, Anton leaps off the building, begging for police officers gathered below to kill him. Hit by a hail of gunfire, Anton strikes the street below and dies. During the Dead No More: The Clone Conspiracy storyline, Anton is among the supervillains who are reanimated in clone bodies with their souls intact via Jackal's technology. In the Hunted storyline, Anton is among the animal-themed characters who are captured and forced to participate in Kraven the Hunter's Great Hunt. As hunting targets, he is grouped with several other captives as the Savage Six. So his first appearance, Web of Spider-Man, number 35 in February of... Oh no, this is the Luis Alvarez one. In February of 1988, that is when he debuted. That's the second character to use it. The third one to use it first appearance was in Spider-Man Get Kraven in 2002. So as you can see, there's a bunch. Jacinda Rodriguez. So there's a whole bunch of people that took on this identity. Powers and abilities. Great athlete, incredible agility, leaping skills, and excellent hand-to-hand. Wears gloves with the razor claws and boots with razor spikes loaded with drugs that render his victim unconscious. Educated in military school and hand-to-hand combatant. Has strength, stamina, and agility and reflexes enhanced to peak human levels thanks to Dr. Carl Mendoza's formula. And, yeah, that's about it. So that is it for Tarantula and what he does. Like I said, I always kind of thought he was a cool character, but he definitely was one of the lesser characters in Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. Definitely not a much of a threat, really, to Spider-Man. And that's why he's going to be shown in the montage at the beginning, which is still cool, though. I mean, you're still going to get to see him in the montage, which will be fun. All right, folks, we're going to go over to the Marvel Comics app, and where you too can get your own Marvel Comics and read up on all these amazing characters for $9.99 a month, and you get access to the entire collection that they have. So, all right, we're going to go to the trending books for this week. We've got Ultimate Endgame, that is issue number 3. Uncanny X-Men, issue number 25. Fantastic Four, issue number 9. The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 25. Ooh, is that? Death Spiral's in it. Oh, that's cool. And he's with Mary Jane as Venom as well. So that, yeah, Death Spiral is a whole thing with the symbiotes. New Avengers, issue number 10. X-Men 97, Strike Files, Infinity Comic number 1. So that's going along with, of course, X-Men 97, which has returned. Dungeons of Doom is up to issue number 3. Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon is at issue number 2. Iron Man up to issue number 3 on that new series. Inglorious X-Force is up to issue number 3. Fantastic Four First Foes, issue number 1. So that's a new book. The Punisher is at issue number 2, a new run of Punisher. Rogue is at issue number 3. Generation X23 is at issue number 2. Psylocke Ninja is issue number 3. Ultimates issue number 22. X-Men 2024, going from there is issue number 27. The Sentry has his own book, issue number 1. I think I mentioned that one at the last podcast. Amazing Spider-Man number 24. Cyclops number 2. Ultimate Wolverine number 15. Captain America, this is the new series, is up to issue number 8. The Mortal Thor, also issue number 8. Infernal Hulk is up to issue number 5. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Queen's Finest, issue number 1. Planet She-Hulk is up to issue number 5. Mark Spector, Moon Knight is issue number 2. X-Men of Apocalypse is issue number 1. No, I'm sorry, issue number 3. Sorcerer Supreme, number 4. And then Wade Wilson, Deadpool, is at issue number 2. So they are all the trending titles for this week. All right, guys, that will do it for the Comics Corner. And now that is going to bring us on over to a minute at the movies. And we're going to go through all of the stuff that is going on in the movies and film industries and things that are trending and all that good stuff. So we're going to go and take a look at all of that. All right. We are starting off with some new images of the Kingpin. This is, of course, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin on the set of Daredevil Born Again Season 3, which they are filming right now. And if you all watched the end of the last one, Kingpin was on an island at the end of that, and it was not New York. So obviously Kingpin is back. He's got some blood on the right side of his white suit coat, and you kind of figured if this especially is going to be the last season that D'Onofrio would be involved in this at some point. Seems like it's just going to be a giant reunion in this show where you're going to get back. You already have Jessica Jones. You're getting Mike Coulter back as Luke Cage. You're getting Iron Fist back. You're getting Elektra back. And then, of course, Kingpin will be in it. So it looks like it's just going to be one big reunion show, which could be the last season of the show. X-Men 97, as I said, the first 3 episodes are out. And the next one will be out on July 8th. So a little bit of a break to let you catch up. But the first one is called Days of Past Future. Second episode is called The Force to be Reckoned With. And the third one is a Rise of Apocalypse Part 1. And that's where they left off with. And there are only... there's 3, 6, there's 9 episodes total. So we already got 3. We only have 6 more to go. And they will come out on a weekly basis starting on the 8th. And the rest of them are called, of course, Rise of Apocalypse Part 2 is the next one. Weapon X Lies and DVDs. Danger.exe. Strangeland and Savage Heart. The Dead Man's Hand, and then Survival of the Fittest. And they are already working on season 3 of this, so this is going to be around for a good long time to come. First look at Elodie Young. Of course, you can't see the pictures. I apologize. But first look at Elodie Young as Elektra on the set of Daredevil Born Again. So she is indeed back. This one is from Culture Crave. Avengers Endgame Encore is the title for the upcoming re-release of Avengers Endgame. So it's being called Avengers Encore. It includes a custom introduction. So you're going to have an introduction before the film starts. Additional new footage, which I did mention that's going to be the case. Special end tag for Infinity Vision and IMAX releases. So this is their new thing that they're calling Infinity Vision, which you get, it's supposed to be like more like an IMAX theater, but they're only going to show it in certain theaters. And of course, IMAX releases. And then, of course, this will be in theaters on my birthday, September 25th. Yo, I know what I'll be doing on my birthday then. I really want to see this again because I only got to see Endgame once in the theater. So I want to see it again, and I think it's going to be crowded because it's going to have that new footage, and it's going to show it. I guarantee there's a post credits that's gonna go into details for Doomsday. I guarantee it. So I'm excited for that. A little Star Wars stuff. A newly restored version of the original Star Wars is coming back to theaters. Star Wars is officially returning to theaters in a newly restored version for its 50th anniversary on February 19th of 2027. Lucasfilm confirmed that the original 1977 film, later renamed A New Hope, will play in theaters for a limited time as part of the franchise's year-long anniversary celebration. The restoration is a huge deal because the original theatrical version had been one of the most requested pieces of Star Wars history, especially after decades of special edition changes and updated releases. So that's Lucas's all the changes that he made to them. Nearly 50 years after it changed cinema forever, the movie that started the entire galaxy is finally getting the big screen return it deserves. I'm very excited for that. That it's not the special edition one, and I'm going to get to see that on a big screen for the first time since I was probably about 7 years old. So really excited, and I'm definitely going to go see it on the biggest theater I can. I think they're going to have this in IMAX, and I will find an IMAX theater to see it for sure. I think I talked about this, but if I didn't, I did get the Magic the Gathering Commander deck, which was recommended to me by one of the listeners. I appreciate that because it had Galactus in it. So I told you guys last week that there was a Galactus card. In fact, I think I read it to you guys. Galactus Devourer of Worlds. He costs 10 to get out. He's an artifact creature, so it's 10 of anything. He's a legendary creature, Elder Alien. He has Flying, Trample, and Indestructible. When Galactus enters, exile target permanent. Insatiable hunger. Galactus attacks an opponent with the most life among your opponents. Each combat, if able, unless you control a creature named Silver Surfer, Galactus's Herald. So, so I got the Commander deck just to get Galactus, but I mean, come on, I had to. That's video games. We'll get back to that one. The most powerful MCU project, or the most important projects you need to watch to prepare for Avengers Doomsday. This comes from the Russo brothers. X-Men Days of Future Past, Doctor Strange, Avengers Endgame, WandaVision, Loki Season 1 and Season 2. WandaVision's a funny one because we don't know where Wanda is. So apparently, if you're going to need to watch that, you're going to need to know some things from it. So we'll see. Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, The Marvels, Agatha All Along, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four First Steps. So that's the list of things they want you to watch to prepare for Avengers Doomsday. This is about Masters of the Universe. Did very, very poorly. Has crossed $110 million mark worldwide after 4 weekends, having cost $200 million, $100 million in marketing. It'll cause MGM a loss of over $150 million, the biggest bomb of the year. So sadly, I know some people who are fans of the property and they loved it. But it just didn't sell. It just did not sell. All right. This one I found was, this brought a chuckle. I watch a show called John Campea. John Campea does stuff about movies and everything too. And he's kind of what inspired me for the idea to do it on the podcast because I like his show. He's entertaining and he talks about the movie industry and about streaming services and stuff like that as well. But this was on his show. There was a, Netflix is suing a director who they paid a bunch of money to direct films for them, I guess, is the way the story went. And they're suing the guy because he took the money that they gave him and he blew it on a whole bunch of stuff. Now wait till you hear that. This is the list that came from John Campea's show. I was laughing. I was literally laughing at this. And I mean, it's probably not the gentleman. I think he is given jail time. As you'll hear at the end, he's gone to jail or will go to jail for this. But he also has mental issues. I mean, you'll know about it. But I mean, this is just like, this is what he bought. Okay. It's not just like little stuff so that he would like avoid being noticed. Like this is how you know there's something going on there. He bought himself luxury vehicles, 5 Rolls Royces and 1 red Ferrari, valued approximately $2.4 million. High-end betting. This gets even better. Now, you cars that you're like, okay, if you're going to steal, go big. High-end betting. 2 custom mattresses totaling $638,000, plus an additional $295,000 on luxury bedding, linens, and furniture. Over $1 million on bedding. What the hell kind of bed can you buy? I mean, this thing better be gold laced, or for $1 million on bedding. Like, dude, that's insane. High end bedding. He also bought luxury apparel and jewelry, $652,000 worth of designer clothes, and luxury Swiss watches, with at least 1 watch valued at $387,000. Credit card debt, roughly $1.7 million, $1.8 million to completely pay off his personal credit card bills. So he also used the money they gave him to pay off his... I'm like, oh my God, I could not believe this when I saw it. Check John Campia's show out if you don't. Especially if you like movies and you like streaming stuff, his show is fun. And I enjoyed it. He has another guy who's a director. His name's Robert Burnett. And he also has a producer. His name escapes me right now. But they do some fun stuff. And he also has there's another guy whose YouTube channel I watch called 4C. And he's fun to watch too. He's a younger guy that does stuff about movies also. And he's been guesting on John's show lately as well. So a lot of the stuff I get with the movie stuff, some of it comes from John's show. So, and this is the gentleman's name. Hollywood director gets 2.5 years in prison for defrauding Netflix. So there you go. All right. I found a meme that I found funny. This was on Facebook, and it's Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, who is always one of my favorite characters on the TV show. If you've watched it now, the Starbuck from the newer series that many of you are probably going to know more than this one. This is the 70s one, the late 70s one, but most of you know Starbuck, of course, as the female Starbuck from the new one. But this one is, of course, played by Dirk Benedict, who ironically was also in the A-Team. But I found this meme hilarious. He's sitting there holding a cigar in his chair with his Colonial Viper pilot outfit on. And it says in the meme, when we find Earth, because that's what they were always doing. They were always looking for planet Earth, in both of the series, actually. But he said, when we find Earth, I'm going to open up a chain of coffee shops in my name. Starbuck, get it? Starbucks. Yeah, I thought that was funny. I got a chuckle out of that too. Okay. I'm going to warn you here. Let me do these other ones first, and I'll warn you ahead of time. I'm going to do these other couple. This is another Star Wars one. According to recent insider reports, the highly anticipated teaser for Star Wars Starfighter is fully completed and locked for release. Sources claim that fans will likely get their very first glimpse of the 2027 film at D23 on August 14th, so that is Disney's convention. Are you excited to see Ryan Gosling join the franchise, and what are your theories? I am really hoping above hope that this movie, who has the guy who directed Stranger Things doing it, by the way, will be the turnaround that Star Wars needs. Amy Adams is in this movie as well, so star power in this film. And I really hope that this brings Star Wars back, because it needs it. Also, there's another more episodes of Star Wars Visions. Now, these are animated that are coming out, and this one is being called The Ninth Jedi. All episodes of this premiere on August the 5th on Disney+. Project Hail Mary, which I just watched again, is now available to stream and watch on Prime Video on Amazon. This is fantastic, guys. If you haven't seen this, this is my movie of the year right now. I haven't seen anything that has beaten it. And I've watched Obsession, by the way, but I did not watch it in the traditional sense. I watched it on a YouTube channel who has hosts on their show that show little clips of it as they go. They obviously can't show the whole movie, but they get away with showing these little clips. And then they talk about the little clips kind of in between and stuff like that. But that's kind of how I watched it, because you know me with the possession stuff. I'm like, and I saw it, and what I did see, it looked like it was very good, and it looked like it definitely deserved the hype. But I'm glad I didn't see some of the scenes. I know there's a scene about the cat. There was a scene about what happened with the cat. There's a scene about her being covered in her own feces and urine, and I'm like, ill. So there are some scenes I did not see, but anyway, Project Hail Mary is my favorite movie of this year so far. And I was happy to watch it again. So you now too can watch it on Amazon. The Eternals will be reportedly be one of the pillars of the cosmic side of the MCU, over the next 5 to 10 years. So if you thought they were done with the Eternals, not so fast, at least according to this report from Marvel Updates. And I have said this before. Supergirl has bombed, for DC. Bombed. It just has not done well at all. Now, I didn't go see it, so I'm not going to make a judgment. I'll wait though to watch it. I'll watch it on streaming when it comes to HBO Max. But I didn't waste a ticket for it because I did hear that it wasn't good. And I really am sad about that because I love the book reference that it came from. That said, and I talked about this in previous episodes, I think too, don't be surprised if James Gunn leaves DC. Not so much because of the fact that the movie didn't do so well, but more so because of the fact of his political beliefs and the fact that HBO is probably going to be part of that whole deal with Paramount that is being talked about in the movie industry. And James Gunn has very, very, very high political beliefs. He is not a fan of our current president, and he's got a lot of issues there. And if that deal goes through, that merger goes through, that means that essentially he will then have to answer to people who directly answer to our president because they own a big stake of the company that is buying that. So don't be surprised if James Gunn doesn't step down. And who knows, he could end up heading back to Marvel. And the reason I bring this up here is because James Gunn was originally, before he was fired by Disney, originally supposed to be in charge of the multiversal part of it. So maybe he would be the guy that would be doing the cosmic stuff with the Eternals involved. So you never know, but that it could happen. It could happen. So we'll see. Happy 64th birthday to Tom Cruise. Now this was a couple days ago, but man, I can't even believe it. 64 years old. And you know, he's been one of my favorite actors. Now, has he always been a great person? No, but he's been in some amazing, I mean, I loved him since the first time I saw him in Risky Business. Still one of my favorite movies to this day. And if you've seen it, if you haven't, go watch it. It's so good. It's 80s nostalgia. It's him as like a high school kid. His parents, it's one of the ultimate things, like a fantasy for a high school kid, right? You're at that age. You're like old enough to drive a car. His parents are loaded. And they go out of town and they go to visit, I think, relatives or whatever, and they leave him in charge of the house. And it's like, what would you do if you had like a house to yourself, their car, you're able to drive their real expensive car and all this kind of stuff. And basically he meets up with one of my all-time favorite actresses, for more reasons than one. She's one of the reasons why I've always loved redheads, by the way, Rebecca De Mornay. She played a prostitute in the movie who Tom Cruise, basically his character, ends up calling like this as a joke, one of his friends, because they were talking about this, calling this hotline that they were going to have a prostitute go to Tom Cruise's house. And Tom Cruise is like, no, I do not want you to do that. Don't do that. And here they did do it. And they sent a prostitute over to the house. And Tom Cruise, of course, was like, was like completely taken aback by it, did not want to do anything with the prostitute. So the prostitute that comes said, oh, you would really like my friend. And then she's the one that turns him on to Rebecca De Mornay's character. So he ends up calling her at some point, and they meet up, and he, of course, falls for her. And Rebecca De Mornay is like I said, she's a prostitute. She's working for this pimp, and and then this gets this whole big thing where Tom Cruise is trying to kind of like save her from this guy, and then this guy comes to the house, and it's a crazy movie. It's a crazy movie. Definitely a lot of 80s, but I loved it. It's still one of my favorite films. Tom Cruise was also in a movie called Vanilla Sky, which is a mind-blowing film. To this day, I still have trouble making that film out and understanding it without reading about what it was about. Of course, all the Mission Impossible films. He was in Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman. Excellent movie. Jerry Maguire. Edge of Tomorrow. Of course, he was in the remake of The Mummy. He was in Tropic Thunder, and then, of course, in Top Gun, and, of course, the sequel, Top Gun Maverick. So, just crazy to believe he's 64, and he's going to be in another film that is already being looked at for a possible Oscar winner called Digger, which many people have seen some scenes from it at some of the conventions that they had for the film industry. So, and it's supposed to be very good. So that'll be one that I'll probably end up seeing as well. Spider-Man Brand New Day is tracking to make $550 million in its opening weekend at the box office. That is insane, especially now. Toy Story 5 is kind of killing it. Gotta say, Toy Story 5 is kind of killing it. I think they're over 300 and some million, but I think that's worldwide. If this hits 550, I think it might be the second all-time highest grossing movie for its first day or its opening weekend. This film is going to, I think, bring out a lot of people. Kids and stuff will go see it, I'm sure. But this film is going to make a lot of money. This film is going to make a lot of money. How about this? We'll do that in the game part. So here's some more about Star Wars Starfighter. Star Wars Starfighter leaks reveal possible plot and character details. Now, I'll take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if any of this is true, but yeah, because to think that there are now, I mean, leaks about Spider-Man, leaks about Doomsday, okay. But to think that there's going to be leaks about this, that no one's even seen hide nor hair of this, I don't know how true that this would be, but there's a lot to unpack here. The leak comes from Making Star Wars. The core story centers on Ryan Gosling playing a rogue Han Solo-style protagonist who is tasked with safely transporting a kid named Cade. Now, I don't know if you've read Star Wars comics. Cade Skywalker is in Star Wars comics, and he's like the next futuristic version of Luke. That's why I don't necessarily believe this, because I think that they're taking that from the comics. Played by Flynn Gray. Cade's mother is played by Amy Adams, and director Sean Levy is reportedly making great use of his experience working with the young actors. Some are even rumoring that Amy Adams is going to play an older Mara Jade. Mara Jade, and I think I've mentioned her in this segment before. Everybody wants to see Mara Jade in a film, but I highly doubt that. Their destination is a brand new planet called Adaria, an East Asian-inspired world with lush greenery, muddy terrain, and tiki huts that serves as a Jedi sanctuary. The Jedi there apparently look a lot like the Padawans from The Phantom Menace. This location is going to host some major action, including a lightsaber duel between Mia Goth and Aaron Pierre, alongside that rumored Tom Cruise cameo, which is now confirmed to be a muddy lightsaber fight on Adaria. So Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre, and Tom Cruise, all rumored to be in this. Eva Mendes is also said to be playing a 650-year-old alien cantina owner named Belle, dressed in a gold outfit and cape. With all these wild details dropping at once, is this officially your most anticipated movie for next May? Again, take all this with a grain of salt, because I really, really doubt that they got word on this. I mean, it is filming, so they could have gotten some spoilers, but I really doubt all this is true. Avengers Doomsday trailer reportedly gets release date and exact time revealed. The wait for the first public Avengers Doomsday trailer is almost over. According to the report shared by Earth 616 and sourced from Insider No More Mutants 22, the trailer will premiere exclusively at Marvel Studios Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con before becoming available on YouTube approximately 1 hour later. So keep that date, guys, meaning that for the first time, the wider world will be able to watch what audiences at CinemaCon already witnessed months ago. Now, I don't think it's going to be the same. The CinemaCon one, John Campea and his group watched, they kind of described it. I don't think this is going to be the same. I think this is going to be a different one. Might have some elements from it, but I don't think it's going to be the same. But anyway, it's coming out during Comic-Con. We kind of all figured that. And so that's when you're going to see the first trailer for Avengers Doomsday. All right. That is a minute or longer at the... Now, I'm going to warn you here because I'm going to read one last thing in this segment and then we'll go quickly to Pixel Perspective. This is okay, well, here's what I'll do because this is running a little long anyway. I have gotten a written full plot description of Doomsday. I don't know how, again, I don't know if this is true. It was talked about on quite a bit of YouTube channels. And I'm going to announce it ahead of time. I will go through this on next week's pod. And it will be in the movie segment, okay? So I will go through this. If you do not want to hear anything at all, I completely understand that, but I'll just warn you ahead of time that I'm going to read this. It's a relatively long. It's like several paragraphs. But I will read this and I'll read this next week. So if you're interested and you want to hear it, you'll listen to this segment next week. If you don't, I will read a couple little things at the beginning that will not concern this, just like some news of the week. And then I will tell you again next week that, hey, this is coming up. If you do not want to hear it or know anything about it, then you can, and I won't have anything after. I'll make this segment last. So I won't do anything afterwards. So you could just kind of finish up, tune out, after it's over if you don't want to hear this. So I will read this out on next week's pod. Okay. All right. Pixel Perspective. And I'm just going to go over, I'm just going to get into this very quickly. Just a couple of little game things. Obviously, like I said today, the Halloween game has a physical copy that is coming out. They also have a collector's copy that's coming out. That's $150. So if you're going to be into that, or if you're into Halloween, then I would definitely let you know that you want to get your hands on those physical copies. They're probably going to go quick. So there's that. There's also this. There is a Netflix game called Unhinged, a horror game that you start on your TV and your web browser, but then it goes to your phone. Like, this is creepy stuff because this is a horror game. It's designed to be played on your TV or computer browser while using your actual smartphone as a controller to play the game. You play as Ava, voiced by Zoe Kravitz, who is trapped in her apartment building during a Cat 5 hurricane. With the power out and exit doors locked, a serial killer begins to hunt you and your neighbors. Your phone acts as both a Wii Remote style pointer for navigating environments and using Ava's flashlight, as well as an in-game smartphone where you directly receive real-time calls and texts from your best friend Claire, voiced by Sadie Sink. And in the building super Troy Baker Variety. That Variety is the place where this article was. For a deep dive into the gameplay and an overview of how your phone acts like a lifeline and controller. To play it, you launch the game on your TV or computer browser, set up the game, find the game, turn on your compatible smart TV, streaming stick, or computer web browser, open Netflix app, scroll down to Games row, and select Unhinged. Scan the QR code. When you hit start, the QR code will appear on your TV screen. Open your smartphone's camera, scan the code, and follow the link to pair your phone to a Netflix account. Turn on game compatibility. If you don't see the game, click on the Netflix profile icon, go to account, select account and devices, and toggle on show devices compatible with games. So, but I'd read about that, and man, I tell you what, that sounds creepy as all get out. Like, could you imagine like a serial killer game, and you know it's taking place like in your home and stuff like that? It sounds absolutely creepy. So if you want to take a chance and you want to play it, it is out there. All right, my quick thoughts on the Sony announcement that they are ending physical media. And I may have a different opinion on this than many other people my age, because we grew up with physical media. But I am not as up in arms about this as everybody else is. And I'll tell you why. About maybe 13, 14 years ago, I went back to starting collecting physical media again. When I was doing music and stuff like that, I was only collecting cassettes when I was younger. So I always wanted to kind of collect vinyl. So vinyl, I started going around and I started picking up vinyl again. With that, I would go to some of these stores that were selling all this old media, and I started picking up some old video games, and I started picking up some old VHS cassettes and all this kind of stuff. Long story short, because the pod's getting a little long, do you want to know what I did with all these things? Absolutely nothing. I didn't buy the systems for the games because they cost too much. And I shouldn't say that. I did buy one retro system. I bought it in Intellivision because I always had an Intellivision as a kid, and I bought it. And you know where that sat? On a shelf. Never touched it. I bought all that vinyl. You know what happened with that? I ended up selling it. I never listened to one of those records. They sat on my shelves for years, and I never listened to one of them. I even bought a record player. I had it here in my living room. I bought some wireless speakers for that record player. I never bothered to listen to it. And you know why that is? I have iTunes on my phone. It's just much easier, is the simple fact of the matter. And also because the way my house is set up, I can't really just be blasting music in my living room because we don't have any stereo equipment or anything like that upstairs. So the electronic stuff is down here. And so I ended up selling all that stuff. I made pretty good money on some of the records, but some of them I took a loss on. And so the question is, do I mind not having physical discs? I really don't. Because to me, I don't look at the disc. I was never one to sit and study video game covers. The artwork's cool and all that. And don't get me wrong, I like that. And I used to like, I would like to get the game and take the cellophane off and take the disc out and all that kind of stuff. But look, it has been changing so much anyway, where the newest game that I had bought was Lego Batman. And when I loaded Lego Batman into my console, off that disc, it took about maybe 6 minutes for that to load. 6 minutes. That tells you how little is actually on those discs. Because then you'd have to go to somewhere and download the rest of it. Either it'll connect you to the game server or wherever, and you have to download the whole rest of the thing anyway. So what is the sense of having the disc? Now, some people will say, well, you could trade it. Yeah, but I work at GameStop. It's no secret that you don't get a whole heck of a lot for trades anymore. At least not nearly as much as you used to 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago when it used to be Electronics Boutique back in the day. So you're taking quite a decent loss when you trade in the game. And I know very few people. Now, a good friend of mine, she keeps all of her games. Every one that she's ever bought, she still has. Every system she's ever bought, she still has. I was never like that. And so this announcement from Sony to me means very little to me. And of all the people who have been up in arms about this, right? Like people going crazy. There are people saying they banned Sony. I'm selling my PlayStation. I'm getting rid of anything I have in the house that's Sony. I'm getting rid of my video game collection. I'm doing all this. First of all, those same people more than likely have a phone that has iTunes on it, or listen to Spotify music, or listen to Sirius XM, or, are you telling me that they all have cassette tapes? Are you telling me they all have CDs? Are you telling me they all have records that they listen to? I highly doubt it. They, I'm sure, probably are listening to things in their car. And yes, while you could still listen to CDs in your car, it's not very, very common anymore. And when you buy cars, most of them don't have CD players. So, these people have some sort of digital stuff in their lives that they don't necessarily own. That's what the thing was about it. Well, I don't own it. Sony then did something where something happened with their movie. I guess Sony had a thing where you were able to get some movies from their stores somehow, and then it would be put on the PlayStation. Well, after this happened a couple of days later, they announced that they lost their license with the company that they were getting these movies from. And so the movies were going to be taken off their collections. So again, that had really nothing to do with Sony. That had to do with the company that they had these collections from. But this led all these people to say, oh my God, see, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to buy a game, and then 3 years from then, they're going to say, well, I'm taking this away from you. I guess they can, but why would they? Like, and the other thing with that is, and the thing with the physical copies that the people are getting rid of now and stuff like that is silly, because you're not doing anything to Sony. You spent your money. You gave your money to Sony already. They got your money the first time you bought that disc. So it doesn't matter what you do with it. They don't care. The whole reason that they're doing this digital stuff is because they don't want their games to be resold and all that other kind of stuff. They don't want that. So from that standpoint, look, it is what it is. Things are changing, and things are going to change. Like I said, I'm a classic gamer from years and years ago. I have gone through all of this. I have had cassettes with Nintendo. I have had arcade. I've played games in the arcade that I never owned, by the way, but I threw a crap ton of quarters in, but I never owned those games. I had to leave. I had to put a bunch of money in them and walk away. But I've owned so many systems over the years that I've had physical media for every single one of them. Guess how many of that I still have? None. I don't have any of it. When I buy the new system, I get rid of all the old stuff. I don't keep all that. So again, maybe I'm different in that way. And maybe there's a lot of you that are listening that are out there that have collected everything and kept everything you have. And that's cool. And I would probably say this to wrap this all up. Sony isn't going to be the only ones that are going to be doing it, folks. You better get used to it, because Microsoft already made a statement saying that they are thinking about it as well. So it's just going to be the way that it's going to go. And it's not that it's even because of the price of, because people said, well, it doesn't cost a lot to make discs. No, it doesn't. Discs are cheap. You can get discs for like $4, $3, maybe even less. In bulk, you probably get them even cheaper than that. The bottom line is, they just don't want to do it anymore. Because I'm sure it does cost the stuff to make the covers and the plastic cases and all that kind of stuff, and to ship them all out in boxes and everything like that to be distributed. So that's probably what it is they don't want to do. But that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So let me know what you think about this whole thing. Let me know what you think about the digital media going away and all that kind of stuff. And while, like I said, I'm nostalgia based, man. My whole life has been nostalgia, especially now. I love nostalgia, but this kind of thing just doesn't bother me. So, all right, guys. Well, there you have it. Longer pod today. I apologize for that, but I had a lot of things that I needed to talk about. So that's going to do it for this episode of Snap Decisions. Again, I want to just say this, that, and usually I'll end this by saying that I'm part of the podcast group with Snap Judgments, of course, with Glazer's Pod that he is still doing on Saturdays. And he has creators on there and stuff like that. And of course, Glazer does streaming. So check out Glazer's stuff on YouTube and all that good stuff. And I heard some sad news, and that is the Snap on This folks are ending their pod. And I'm sure that I didn't get to hear their latest episode, so I'm not really sure if Lauren Whatevs made that known. I'm sure that they might have. But I'm very sad to hear that. You guys know how much I love that show, and I would tell you guys to check it out. I think they're ending when they come to either 100 or maybe a little over 100 episodes. But yeah, listen, some things don't last forever, and that's why I cherish the times that I have doing this, because things change, and some things just don't last for as long as we would like them to. So I will certainly miss hearing from Lauren and from Ree and from Ben. Of course, Lauren has a lot of things going on as well that she does. She has a website that she does with Snap, with Skosko that they do. And, she has other things that she's involved with as well with the game. So, but yeah, look, that is going to do it for me. Again, congrats to all the winners of the season passes. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your week in Snap, however you choose to play it. Please stay safe, be kind to one another always. And hopefully I will talk to you on the next episode of Snap Decisions. This is your Snap DJ signing off.